this is Kristen with Crossing Timbers Equine. In this educational video, we're going to go over how to put on a bridle that has a snaffle bit. Now the first thing I'm going to want to do when putting a bridle on my horse, if I'm leaving the halter on underneath the bridle, is I'm going to unclip them. There are times and situations where I will ride with a halter on underneath the bridle. I want to make sure that the halter fits snugly and it doesn't interfere with the movement of the bit. I personally like the rope halters. I personally like them to go underneath the bridle because then I feel like they don't interfere with the movement of the bit. Or if I lay that halter over the top, it's going to put pressure on those cheek pieces and it might change how that bit responds to my reins. So I've unclipped Sly, so that way I don't have to worry about that rope getting in the way of me maneuvering his face where I need it in order to put the bridle on. I'm going to ask him to bring his head down, so I'm going to put a hand on his nose and a hand on top of his poll and give light little bumps and ask him to bring his head down. Then I'm going to take, no, we asked you to bring your head down, thank you. Then I'm going to take my reins and I'm going to put them up over his neck. Now I want to make sure that the reins either go on his neck or lay over my shoulder. I don't ever want to drop the reins and have them on the ground in front of me. No matter if they're rope reins that are all one piece or leather split reins or any sort of other split rein, I always want to make sure that those reins are up and away from his feet and away from my feet. If he steps forward and steps into those reins, he could get tangled. If he steps forward and gets tangled, he could knock into me. I could get tangled. The scenarios are endless. So we want to make sure that we keep the reins up and off of the ground. I like to put them on his neck because that's where these reins are going anyway. So I figure he might as well hold them from the beginning. Then I'm going to ask him to bring his head down. Good boy. I'm going to take the top of my bridle in my right hand. In my left hand, I'm going to cup the bit with my thumb through the hole in my egg butt. I'm going to use my thumb right at the corner of his mouth just to wiggle his mouth open so that then I can guide that bit in with my right hand. So as he opened, I lifted with my right hand. Then I'm going to push his ear forward and push his ear forward. And then I like to make sure that their forelock and their mane, and he's a little fuzzy right now, lay nice and pretty underneath that crown piece. And then I'm going to ask him to back out just a little bit so I can come in front. Good boy, one more. Good boy. And I'm going to give that bit a little bit of a wiggle. Make sure it's not caught on my halter so that that bit sits even. I want to make sure my brow band is sitting on either side right under the ear. I don't want my brow band to be stuck and have it down like this. It's going to make it almost impossible to put my throat latch strap on. So I want that brow band tucked right underneath his ear. And then it's time to put his throat latch strap on. Now the throat latch strap is there to keep the bridle on the horse. If you did not have the throat latch strap, if something were to catch on this bridle, it could just come up right off and over his ears. So with the throat latch strap, we only want this snug enough to keep the bridle on. We don't want it too tight, so that way we're choking them right here in their throat latch, and we don't want it too loose so that that bridle could get down under their jowls and slide off of their ears. So you want to channel your 3 little bears, and you want it just right when you're tightening up your throat latch strap. Now if you ever are like, I'm not sure, I would like a little measurement, if you place 4 fingers sideways between your throat latch and their cheek. Your forefingers should just fit just nice and snug. If you have to really pull that throat latch out and really crank and your fingers maybe got to smush a little bit, your throat latch is too tight. If you can pull your throat latch all the way out here and you've got room to put your fingers in like this, that means your throat latch is too loose. I like to just kind of run my hand along that throat latch, make sure he's got clearance under here under his throat latch, but then it's not too loose that it can't get past his cheeks and his jowls. Now when we're ready to take the bridle off, we're going to undo our throat latch strap, leave that throat latch strap to hang down. I'm going to grab my reins and put them up right back behind his ears. I'm going to ask him to drop his head by putting just a little pressure on his poll, and I'm just putting my hand on his nose just so he doesn't walk forward on me. Then I'm going to put my thumb on either side of his ear. I know he's fuzzy, so it's hard to see, but I'm going to put my thumb on either side of his ear right underneath the crown piece. Slide that bridle up and over and let that bit drop down and out of his mouth. And then we would untack the saddle and he'd be ready to go.